Once upon a time there lived at Oxford a rich fellow, a carpenter by trade, who took boarders into his home. At this time his boarder was a cleric named Clever Nicholas. He knew about secret love affairs and pleasure, in which he was most sly and cautious. He appeared to be as pure as a young girl. Nicholas had a beautiful singing voice and was often praised for his singing, and so the sweet cleric spent most of his time living upon his own income as well as the money he borrowed from his friends. The young carpenter had just married a girl whom he loved better than his life. She was 18 years old. He was jealous and kept a close watch on her, for she was wild and young. He was old and thought himself likely to be cuckolded. Being ignorant, he did not know man should marry a woman similar to him. Man should wed a woman his own age. But since he had fallen into the trap, he had to bear his burden like other people. The young wife was pretty, with a body as neat and graceful as a weasel. She wore a checked silk belt, and around her legs a flounced apron as white as fresh milk. Her smock was also white. Her hair was bound with a wide ribbon of silk set high on her head, and, truly, she had an immoral eye. Her eyebrows were plucked thin and were arched and black. She was even more delightful to look at than a young, early ripe pear tree, and she was softer than lamb's wool. No man could imagine so gay a darling. Her coloring was brighter than that of a new coin, and her singing was loud and lively as a swallow sitting on a barn. In addition, she could skip about and play like any kid or calf following its mother. Her mouth was as sweet as honey. She was tall and straight as a ship's mast. Her shoes were laced high on her legs. She was a beautiful flower. It happened that Clever Nicholas began to tease and flirt with his young wife while her husband was away. He slipped his hand intimately between her legs and said, "Surely, unless I can fulfill my burning desire for you, my sweetheart, I will die." Then he grasped her roughly by the hips and said, "Sweetheart, make love with me right now or I will die."
She sprang aside like a colt and quickly turned her face away and said, "I will not kiss you. Stop. Let me alone, Nicholas, or I will call out for help. Take your hands away. Where are your manners?" Then Nicholas began to beg for mercy and spoke so willingly that she at last granted his wish and promised that she would do his will as soon as she saw the opportunity. "My husband is so jealous that unless you wait patiently and secretly, I know that I am as good as dead," she said. "You must be extremely secretive about this matter." "No, don't worry about that," said Nicholas. "A cleric has surely spent his time badly if he cannot outwit a carpenter." In this way that they reached an agreement and soared to wait for their chance. When Nicholas had for some time stroked her body, he kissed her gently. Then he took down his guitar and joyously played many songs. It happened on a holy day that his good wife went to church. Now there was at that church a parish clerk who was named Absalom. His curly hair shone like gold. It was spread out like a large fan and parted straight and evenly down the center. He had red cheeks and eyes as blue as a goose. He was dressed trimly in red stockings and a coat of light blue adorned and with handsome laces. He was a happy young fellow and smart too. He knew all the latest dances and could play songs on a small fiddle and also could play the guitar. He had been to every alehouse in the town.
On this particular day, Absalom passed among the wives of the parish. He looked upon the wives, but looked longingly at the carpenter's wife. He could think of no greater pleasure than to look at her. She was so fair, so sweet, so flirtatious. I dare say that if she had been a mouse and he the cat, he would have pounced on her at once. That night Absalom took his guitar and went forth, expecting to find a woman to sleep with. He came to the carpenter's house and stood below the bedroom window. He sang gently and softly. The carpenter awoke, and hearing the sound, at once said to his wife, "What? Allison, don't you hear Absalom singing under our bedroom window?" "Yes, John, I hear the whole thing." This went on day after day. Absalom played for her and became lovesick. He could not sleep. He sent her love notes and offered to be her servant. He sang for her. He sent her gifts of wine, ale, and cakes and offered her money. Finally, one Saturday, Nicholas and Allison had their chance. The carpenter went away for the day, and the two soon-to-be lovers agreed that Nicholas should prepare a trick for the jealous husband. Then, if all went well, she would sleep in his arms all night, for this was what they both wanted. Nicholas immediately put his plan into action. He took food and drink for a day or two up to his room and told her to tell her husband that she had not laid eyes on him all day.
Nicholas remained quietly in his room, eating and sleeping all day, Saturday and Sunday. The stupid carpenter was greatly astonished at this and wondered what might be wrong with Nicholas. He told his servant to go and see what was wrong. The boy clumped up the stairs and knocked like a madman. "What are you doing? How can you sleep all day long?" Not a word did he hear from Nicholas. The boy found a hole in the door and peeped into the room until at last he caught a sight of Nicholas. He saw Nicholas sitting, staring up at the ceiling as if he were looking at the moon. The boy ran down and told the carpenter what he had seen.
The carpenter said, "Help us! Nicholas has become insane! I always thought this would happen!" They went to Nicholas's room and broke down the door. Nicholas sat there, still as a stone, steadily staring up into the air. The carpenter thought Nicholas was crazy and grabbed him firmly by the shoulders, shook him and cried out, "What? Wake up!" At last, clever Nicholas began to wake up and said, "God has spoken to me in a vision. All the world will once more be destroyed." "What did you say?" asked the carpenter. Nicholas replied, "John, my dear landlord, you must swear you shall not give away my secret to anyone. If you betray me, your punishment will be to go insane." The carpenter promised to keep the secret, and Nicholas told his story. "I was looking at the moon," he began. "Saw in a vision that next Monday night at 9 o'clock there shall fall a rain so wild and furious that Noah's flood was not half so large. Thy world shall be flooded in less than an hour. Everyone shall drown and die." The carpenter answered, "My wife! My Allison! Is there no way out?"
Clever Nicholas answered, "Yes, I will guarantee that I will save Allison, you, and myself. Haven't you heard how Noah was saved when our Lord warned him ahead of time that all the world would be destroyed by water?"
Yeah, a long time ago in the Bible. What, you think I'm stupid? Well, let me tell you something. I know a lot more than you think. So don't call me stupid. Okay, calm down. Have you not also heard, said Nicholas, about the troubles Noah and his companions had before they could get his wife aboard the ship? I guarantee that Noah would have given all of his sheep for his wife to have had a ship all to herself. This problem demands we work quickly. We can't waste time talking. Go at once and bring here quickly a barrel for each of us. Be sure they are large enough for us to float on. Put enough food and water in each for 1 day only. Don't worry about anything else. The flood waters will go down about 9 o'clock the next morning. Don't tell anyone else what you're doing, or they will think you're insane. I shall save your wife, without doubt. Go, quickly. When you have found the 3 barrels for the 3 of us, then you must hang them high under the roof so that no one will spy on our arrangements. When you have done that and placed the food in the barrels, we will be ready. Tomorrow night, when all men are asleep, we shall creep into our barrels and sit there awaiting God's mercy and be delivered from the flood.
The stupid carpenter went on his way and told his secret to his wife. She was fully aware of what all these strange doings meant. Nevertheless, she acted as if she would die. "My dear husband, help us escape or we will all be dead." The stupid carpenter began to shake. It seemed to him that he actually saw Noah's flood come in like the sea to drown his dear Allison, his honey dear. He cried at the thought. He went and got the barrels and secretly had them delivered to his house. He put in food enough for 1 day. When Monday came, the 3, Allison, Nicholas, and the carpenter, climbed into the barrels and waited for the rain. The carpenter said his prayers and sat still in his tub waiting to hear the raindrops. Finally, a deep sleep overcame the carpenter. As soon as the carpenter started snoring, Nicholas and Allison crept down the ladder. Without wasting words, they went into the same bed.
And there was great sport and merriment. They lay there in pleasure until the morning.
Meanwhile, Absalom was still lovesick for Allison. He hadn't seen John the carpenter all day, so he decided to tell Allison of his love.
"I shall now tell all my love longing to Allison, for at least I can't miss kissing her. I swear, I ought to get something out of it. All day long my mouth has itched, and that is a sign of kissing. Ugh! I shall go to sleep for an hour or 2, and then I shall stay awake all night and have fun."
After midnight, this jolly lover got up and dressed himself in all his finery. He went to the carpenter's house and stood quietly by the low window which reached only up to his chest. Softly he called,
"What are you doing, Honeycomb, sweet Allison, my only fair bird, my sweet Cinnamon? Awake, my love, and speak to me. I love you."
Get away from the window, you jack fool, she said. So help me God, it won't become kiss me. I love another better than you, Absalom. I would be a fool if I didn't. Go away and let me sleep or I'll throw a stone.
At least kiss me.
Will you go away then? She asked.
Yes, certainly, love.
Then get ready, she said. I will come at once. And she whispered to Nicholas, now be quiet and you shall have your laugh. She opened the window hastily. Be quiet, she said. Stop talking and hurry lest the neighbors see you. Absalom wiped his lips dry. The night was dark and she thrust her ass out the window. Absalom, knowing better, kissed it before she realized the trick. He jumped back and thought something was wrong.
What have I done?
Hee hee, she laughed and slammed the window shut. Poor Absalom heard all of the laughter and said to himself,
I'll get even with you.
His hot love was now cooled. Now he was cured of his love for Allison. Quietly he went across the street to a blacksmith who made equipment in his shop for plowing. Absalom knocked at the door and said,
Open up at once! Who's there? It is I, Absalom. Why are you up so early? Some girl got nose at you on this way.
Absalom didn't care about this teasing. He didn't even reply.
Dear friend, lend me that hot plow blade from the fire. I have something to do with it. I shall return it to you very soon. Soon. What will you do? I shall tell you tomorrow.
With that, he grabbed the plow blade by the cool handle and went quietly out of the door across to the carpenter's house. Then he knocked upon the window just as he had done before. Allison answered, Who knocks there? I'll bet it's a thief.
Why no? God knows, my sweet one, I am your Absalom, darling. I have bought you a gold ring, he said. My mother gave it to me. So help me God, it is very fine and well engraved. I will give it to you if you kiss me.
Nicholas had risen from the bed to urinate and thought he would put the finishing touch to the joke. Absalom should kiss his ass. So Nicholas quickly raised the window and thrust his ass far out. Then Absalom said,
Speak, sweet bird, I don't know where you are.
At this, Nicholas let fly a fart with a noise so great as a clap of thunder, so that Absalom was almost overcome by the force of it. But he was ready with his hot iron and he burned Nicholas in the middle of his ass. The skin came off. The hot plow blade had so burned his buttocks and Nicholas thought he would die of pain. Like a madman, he began to shout,
Help! Water! Water, for God's sake!
The carpenter, who was still asleep in the barn, woke and heard someone shouting, Water! He sat up at once and cut the rope that was holding the barrel to the roof of the barn. Down went everything until it hit the floor, and there the carpenter lay unconscious. Allison and Nick rushed out the street crying, Help! All the neighbors ran to stare at the unconscious man. He lay pale, for his arm had broken by the fall. They told everyone he was crazy. His imagination had made him so afraid of a flood that he had foolishly brought 3 barrels, hung them from the roof, and begged them to sit under the roof for him to keep him company. The folks began to laugh at the carpenter's imaginary flood. No matter what the carpenter said, the people didn't listen. Everyone thought he was crazy. And so the carpenter was made a cuckold in spite of all his care and jealousy, and Absalom didn't really get a kiss from Allison and Nicholas, but his buttocks scorched.
And here ends the miller's tale.